Anyway, so as promised in the burp. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is StepsBasic, and welcome back to my community show. Boop, boop. Anyway, as promised last time, one second. That light's bright in my face now. No, too white to have the washout. So anyway, as promised in the conclusion of my Final Fantasy 15 episode, Ignis episode, or series as it were, I was gonna make this my video, my review of Final Fantasy 15. So, spectacular game. I said that a few times when I was doing that, but here is where we're going to get in depth into why I really liked Final Fantasy 15, why I found it to be pretty high up there on my favorite games list. Now, naturally, I can't call it my favorite game because, well, we all know what my favorite game is, and I'm a very, very, very loyalist type of guy. And if there's any company out there that ever dethrones my favorite game, good on them. That's a good job. But Final Fantasy 15 didn't. Sadly, it didn't make it up there. But that does not in any way mean that it's not a good game. Like I kept saying, spectacular. So, let's get into this and talk about the pros and the cons about what makes this a good game and what I found lacking. Now, the character focuses mainly on Prince Noctis, who is our protagonist there. And his four friends are Gladiolus and Prompto and Ignis. But apart from them, there is a vast array of sub-characters, bit parts as it were, but none of these characters are small, and that's one thing I really loved about this game. From Sid, the mechanic, and his granddaughter Cindy, even the king, Regis, who you get to see like once or twice in the whole game before he dies. Even he is a deep character. And then you go on to the antagonists. You got Arden there, and oh my god, that dude. Every time I saw his face, I just wanted to punch him. Well, you know, after a while. After I figured out who he was and why we didn't like him. Naturally, he fell into the classic Final Fantasy thing, where if he's dressed fancy and has a funny accent, he's the bad guy. Yeah, you can look at all the other Final Fantasies and see what I mean. But anyway, that's one thing I loved about this game, was there was so much of an in-depth character weave. However, one thing I did find lacking was the connections to the characters. Like, Noctis and Ignis and Prompto and Gladiolus, you spend all this time with them. They are your four main characters. They are who you control throughout the entire story. If you go from point A to point Z without hitting any of the points in between, i.e. you just rush right through the story, you will not be able to see the connection between these four characters. Sure, there are cutscenes which build character, i.e. Gladiolus telling the prince, yo, suck it up, be a man, step up, be the king. You're the king, stop acting like a child. And there's times like that. And some of the stuff, if you go and play in through, like if you play through the snow part with Noctis and Prompto, where he shoots him off the train, that part's actually going to be lacking a lot of feeling. Now, the connections are there, but you have to find them. It's one thing I don't particularly like. Now, I don't mind looking through a story and trying to find the story and trying to build the story. But if you have to work to like your characters, there's a problem there. There was this one scene, I didn't catch it on camera or on recording because it happened off screen and it was an accident. I stayed at an inn, and Prompto came, he joined me, and we went up on the roof of the inn and we talked. And Prompto voiced how he felt like he wasn't really helping the group and that he felt like he was more of a burden than anything. And Noctis and he had a nice conversation, and you really got to feel the connection between these characters. And the same thing happens if you stay at inns, you stay at rest stops. You do the little running things, little mini games and everything. And you build up the character, you build up the rapport with these characters, and you actually feel connected to them. And then at the same time, some of the stuff happens off camera, or in the DLC, as it were, where you don't really understand why Prompto is feeling so much like an outcast towards the end of it, until of course he puts his barcode at the thing, and you're like, ah, I see. I love the characters and I love the rapport, but I hated the fact that if you didn't do it right, you would miss it. Alright, so one big positive about this game that I was actually surprised about. Being a classic Final Fantasy player, I'm used to the turn-based battle system with the ATB, your speed determining your position in battle, and you get to control every single character. You get to tell everyone what they do. Now, I got a bit of a taste of something different in 12, yes, in 12, with Vaughn and all them, where you just control the one character and everybody else is running around doing the battle behind you. Now, that's much like the battle system for 15. However, 15 executed it well. 12 did not. Now, I don't hate 12, don't get me wrong, but they were trying to be 11, but for single player. 15 executed it incredibly well, where you're the main character and you do control the whole battle. I mean, you got your friends in the background doing their things, and if you get close to a bad guy and you do an attack on his blind side, then the rest of the party will come and help you out. And you can give them commands like doing the star shell, or you know, as I tried to do freaking overwhelm, one of my favorite moves, because it literally just blasts the enemy with epic proportions. And the battles were fluid. The battles were, you know, from start to finish, you get in there, you beat them, you win, you get stomped sometimes, but it felt like a real fight. I mean, not so much like a real life fight, like you get punched, I punch you, but if you get slashed with a sword, yeah, you're gonna bleed to death. But it felt like you weren't just some overpowered twerp out there wielding an oversized sword. No offense to Final Fantasy VII, but even at level 99, the battles felt like they meant something. And that's one thing I actually liked about it. I didn't like the grading system afterwards. It didn't really seem to make much sense to me. Time, yes, you finish it quickly, you get a point, and I don't really remember what the grading criteria were, but style, who cares? I killed the bad guys. Which is why I consistently got D's in that. So, one thing I liked about Final Fantasy 15 was the world that it built around you. Now, you established that you're the Prince of Insomnia right out of the gate. You're Noctis, meeting with dear old dad, and, you know, he's like, hey, go do this, you're getting married. Okay, this is my world. Okay, but who's the Oracle? Lady Lunafreya. You find out throughout the story before you even get up there what the Oracle is, who the Oracle is, and what it means. Beyond that, there's more to the world than just, you know, the prince going to go marry the princess, as it were. You are the prince doing this long road trip with your friends out into the wilderness. You get to meet the salt of the earth. You get to meet people like Sid and Cindy. You get to meet the Taka. You get to meet basically all the all the lowly plebs, or whatever they call them. And beyond that, you get to see the world, not so much through the eyes of I am your savior, but through the eyes of these are my people. These are the people I'm with. And you get to feel that connection. You get to feel like you're technically above them, but at the moment, you are them. You are one of them. And beyond that, you get the beautiful, expansive landscape. You get the gorgeous scenery to look at. I recorded about an hour's worth of footage for this video on New Game Plus, and I thought I wasn't going to have anything really good to look at because all I had was the desert scape. And I come from the desert, I like the desert, but honestly, I find forest to be more appealing. But looking at even just this desert scene that I walked around in for like half an hour fighting monsters and just taking in the sights is beautiful. You get the light coming off the mountain, you get the shadows passing over you, and oh my god, that one part when you're coming back from your mission and then the zoo just flies over your head. You know this world is full of monsters. You know you are not the top of the food chain in this world. And you know, you got the drivers coming by on the roads and everything. So you know there's business going on around you. Things you can't see, things that you're not involved in. You know the hunters exist. You know that there are just people living their lives in this world that you are in. And I found that spectacular. I mean, literally, I have no complaints about the way they built this world. Except for one, but I'm going to get to that in my next segment. So, the story of Final Fantasy from start to finish, Final Fantasy 15 from start to finish, is maybe at best 1/3 of the story. Yes, I know. And that is due in part to the fact that the world building was so good that they literally went outside of the game itself to build it. There was Final Fantasy 15 A King's Glaive, which was a friggin' anime series. I think it was anime. Either it was just CG, but it was an animated series, show, movie, before the game. There was episode Ignis, episode Prompto, episode Gladiolus. Stories that took place outside of the main story. There's still missing chunks of the story, like what happened between Talcott and what was his name? Talcott and his grandpa. What happened to get him killed? Where did Iris go? Where is Iris at now? And the story was spectacular, beautiful story. From start to finish in the game, I still felt involved. And I don't feel like I needed to watch the movie. I don't feel like I missed out on anything by not playing the DLCs. Well, of course I went back and played them, naturally. But at the same time, I'm like, they needed to be there. And I kind of wish they were, but it's at the same point. Of course, you need to cut it for time. You can't build everything in the same world. Like I'm writing a book, right? I mean, I've written a couple of books, but it's all in a series, and I have a world built around them that are not in the actual books themselves. Because, like I said, like in the world building, there's so much going on behind the scenes that if I were to try to fit everything into the book, it would be about 10,000 pages long. That's why you want to write more than one book and write offshoots and spin-offs and whatnot. So the story itself was great. I really felt the impact when Luna died. I really hated Arden every time I saw him. When he took over Prompto and I figured it out, I was like, no, this is wrong. That's not the right guy. That's not Prompto. And when I saw Ravis come out corrupted by the Magitech and turning into a fiend, I felt that in my heart. And every time I saw Ariadne, I was like, yes, she's awesome. She's here to save my bacon. And like Biggs and Wedge, I saw them, and I know I had the whole, hey, these are long-running characters in the series. But even they felt like they mattered in this world. And that was kind of an important part of the story that I really enjoyed. So I did make mention that this one doesn't rank up there with my top Final Fantasy favorites. Obviously, 7's at the top. I have a list. This one ranks probably around number 4. Now, I'm a bit of a purist. Yes, I do like my stuff to stay the same, but that doesn't mean that things changing is a bad thing. This is why this one outranks so many other. I mean, on a game series up to 15 installments now, not counting the sequels, it ranks number 4 on my list. 7, 4, 6, 15. 7, 4, 6, and 15. It doesn't really have much of a tie to the other games, but then again, it's Final Fantasy. None of them really have much of a tangible tie to the other ones. In this one, you have Diamond Weapon, although they don't actually call him Diamond Weapon until, you know, in Prompto's little side quest there. And I'm like, I said it. He looks just like Diamond Weapon. But as such, it doesn't really have to fit anywhere because, like I said, it's Final Fantasy. None of the Final Fantasies fit anywhere. With each other, anyway. There were a lot of other interesting features to the game that I really liked, such as the regalia. At first I didn't. I hated the regalia, because this is a massive world. Huge. Literally, they will tell you have to walk 5 miles to get to a place. Now, in real life, I do that easy. I'm out. Walk 5 miles, I'm done. In about an hour. But the regalia was an inconvenience. It was annoying. And because of the massive scale of the world and how they tried to build everything all at once, load times were a pain in the butt. So even fast travel was not as fast as it could be. And then they added the Regalia D, which was not a feature when I first played. It did not exist. But I love the Regalia D. I love it. The big old wheels just monster trucking my way through the hills. And I was kind of glad when the New Game Plus was like, hey, let's change that up for you. Give me the Regalia D now. Boom. There's another Regalia form that flies. I haven't played with that one yet, but I want to. This game was spectacular. What they say at the beginning is true. A Final Fantasy for fans and newcomers alike. Because I feel like it gives you a real introduction to how Final Fantasy runs its life, i.e. it's going to hurt, but it's going to be an interesting story. It's going to be a fun ride, and one that, while like I said is going to hurt, you're not going to regret taking. All in all, this game, I cannot recommend it enough. Spectacular game, good story, impressive characters, great. I know I often say that the visuals don't really matter, but this one is a beautiful, beautiful game. And while they don't matter, they're not bad to look at. But anyway, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. This was my first official, in-depth review of a game. So let me know what you think. If you like this, if you want to see more reviews like this, I'll go ahead and get into them. I like reviewing the games, but I'm going to play them first. So if you want me to review a specific game, you're going to have to sit through the series while I play it first. But anyway, apart from that, leave those comments down in the comment section down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can, when I can, if I can, you know all that jazz. And tune in next time when we talk about something else. And until then, good night.